Commander Dongwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the Coalition warship Harmony, watching the screens with growing anger. The asteroid was heading straight for Titan Colony, home to 50,000 humans. The massive rock would hit in 6 hours. Every human would die. "Sir, we can change course and destroy the asteroid," said his human lieutenant. "It will only take 3 hours." The Veltar commander, a tall crystal being named Zexali, clicked his sharp fingers. "No, we have orders to reach the Morgan trade station. Human mining colonies are replaceable. Our schedule is not." Dongwoo's hands turned into fists. He had served the Coalition for 20 years. He had followed every order, fought every battle, lost friends for these aliens. Now they would let 50,000 humans die to save 3 hours. "Sir, please," Dongwoo said. "These are innocent people, families, children." Zexali's crystal eyes glowed cold blue. "Commander Kim, you forget your place. Humans serve. You do not question. Return to your station." Dongwoo watched the asteroid grow larger on the screen. Soon it would be too late to stop. He thought of his sister who lived on Titan Colony. He thought of her 2 young children. The Coalition would not save them. 3 systems away, Dr. Hae-Jin Park worked alone in her laboratory on research station Kepler 442b. She had been studying human genetics for the Coalition for 15 years. Tonight she had discovered something terrible. The computer showed 2 genetic maps side by side. One was a human from today. The other was from ancient human remains, 300 years old. Before first contact with the aliens, the differences were shocking. Modern humans were weaker, smaller, less intelligent. Their bones were softer. Their muscles were smaller. Their brains processed information slower. But this was not natural evolution. Someone had changed human genetics on purpose. Hae-Jin pulled up more data. Every human in Coalition space had the same genetic markers. Markers that made them obedient, peaceful, weak. The aliens had been changing human DNA for generations, making them perfect workers and soldiers who never questioned orders. She found a hidden file in the alien database. It was written in Veltar language, but she had learned to read it. The title made her blood run cold. Project Domestication Final Phase Implementation. The file detailed plans to reduce the human population by 80% over the next 10 years. The remaining humans would be made even weaker and more obedient. They would become perfect slaves, unable to think for themselves or fight back. Hae-Jin sat back in her chair, shaking. The aliens had never seen humans as equal partners. They saw them as animals to be controlled and used. On the trade route between Proxima and Vega, Captain So-Young Lee commanded the transport ship New Dawn. Her cargo hold was filled with 300 human refugees fleeing a failed colony world. These people had lost everything. They trusted So-Young to get them to safety. The pirates came out of nowhere. 5 ships surrounded New Dawn demanding surrender. So-Young sent out an emergency signal to the Coalition fleet. Help was coming, but would it arrive in time? "Captain, Coalition ships approaching," her engineer reported. 2 Veltar destroyers and a Luxani cruiser. So-Young smiled with relief. They were saved. The Coalition fleet would drive off the pirates and rescue everyone. But something was wrong. The Coalition ships destroyed the pirate vessels, but they did not answer So-Young's calls. Instead, they docked with New Dawn and soldiers boarded. The Veltar commander walked onto the bridge, followed by floating Luxani energy beings. "We are here for the rescued passengers," the crystal alien announced. "Rescued passengers?" So-Young asked. "What are you talking about?" "The alien passengers from the pirate attack. We will evacuate them immediately," So-Young stared. "There are no alien passengers. Only humans. 300 human refugees who need help." The Veltar commander looked at her with cold crystal eyes. "We received reports of alien passengers under pirate attack. We see only humans. Our mission is complete. What about the humans? They need food, medical care, transport to safety. Not our concern. Humans are not Coalition priority." The Veltar turned and walked away. The Luxani followed, their energy forms crackling with indifference. So-Young watched the Coalition ships leave. 300 humans sat in her cargo hold, injured and starving. The people who were supposed to protect them had abandoned them because they were human. Back on the Harmony, Dongwoo Kim watched Titan Colony die. The asteroid struck exactly as predicted. 50,000 lives ended in a flash of light and fire. His sister, her children, gone. The Veltar commander showed no emotion. Unfortunate, Zixali said. File the report. Continue to trade station. That night, Dongwu sat alone in his quarters. He had served the Coalition faithfully for 20 years. He had believed they were building a better galaxy together. Now he saw the truth. Humans were not partners. They were tools. Disposable tools. He thought about Dr. Park's research reports he had seen. Humans were getting weaker each generation. Fewer humans were being born each year. Human colonies kept failing or disappearing. It was not accidental. It was planned. The next morning, Dongwu sent 3 coded messages. One went to Dr. Heijin Park on her research station. One went to Captain So-Young Lee on her transport ship. The third went to someone he had not contacted in 5 years, General Tai-Ho Yoon, who had disappeared after questioning Coalition orders. Each message contained the same simple words. They have gone too far. It is time. Dr. Park received the message while looking at genetic test results from her own blood. She had found the control markers in her own DNA. The aliens had changed her just like every other human, but knowing the truth was the first step to fighting back. Captain Lee read the message while helping wounded refugees. The Coalition had abandoned these people because they were human. Someone needed to protect humans since the Coalition would not. Across the galaxy, the 3 alien species congratulated themselves. The Veltar, Morgan, and Luxani had worked together for centuries to keep humans under control. Humans were useful workers and soldiers, but they could be dangerous if allowed to grow strong. The genetic modifications were working perfectly, but they had made one mistake. They had pushed too hard too fast. They had shown their true nature to the wrong humans. Commander Kim, Dr. Park, and Captain Lee were not ordinary humans. They were smart, strong, and angry. Most importantly, they were not alone. Across human space, others had noticed the truth. The dying colonies. The genetic changes. The casual cruelty. A network was forming in secret, connecting humans who had seen too much and lost too much. The aliens thought they had created perfect servants. Instead, they hate 6 months after Titan Colony died, General Tai-Ho Yoon was supposed to be dead. The Coalition had held a funeral for him after his ship exploded near the outer rim. They buried an empty coffin while Yoon watched from orbit. Hidden in a stolen freighter, the explosion had been real, but Yoon escaped in a pod moments before. He had planned his fake death for months, gathering evidence of Coalition crimes against humanity. Now he was free to act. Yoon's secret base was built inside a dead asteroid in the Kepler belt. Dozens of humans worked there, all officially dead or missing. They called themselves Phoenix, rising from the ashes of their old lives. How many cells are active? Yoon asked his communications officer, Minho Choi. 47 systems, sir. Over 2,000 people. The network grows every day. Minho had been a Coalition weapons engineer until he discovered the aliens were deliberately giving humans inferior equipment. Human soldiers died because their weapons failed, while aliens had the best technology. When he complained, they transferred him to waste recycling. That was when Phoenix recruited him. Now Minho designed weapons in secret. He studied alien physiology, learning their weaknesses. Veltar crystals shattered at specific sound frequencies. Morgan insect shells dissolved in common human chemicals. Luxani energy beings could be trapped in magnetic fields. The new pulse rifles are ready, Minho reported. They will cut through Veltar crystal armor like paper. Yoon nodded. Good, what about Dr. Park's progress? Intelligence Officer Yoonji Kwon stepped forward. She still worked at Coalition headquarters on Nexus Prime, passing information to Phoenix while pretending loyalty to the aliens. Dr. Park has developed a genetic therapy, Yoonji said. It reverses the alien modifications. Humans who take it become stronger, faster, smarter. She calls it the Restoration Protocol. How much stronger? Yoon asked. Test subjects showed 50% improvement in strength and reaction time. Intelligence scores increased by 30%. Most interesting, they became more aggressive, more willing to fight. Yoon smiled grimly. The aliens had made humans weak and passive. Dr. Park could make them strong and fierce again. We need to distribute the therapy carefully, Yoonji continued. Too fast and the aliens will notice. Too slow and they will complete Project Cleansing first. Project Cleansing was the aliens' plan to kill most of humanity. Yoonji had stolen the details from Coalition files. 80% of humans would die from engineered plagues and industrial accidents. The survivors would be relocated to prison worlds. Completely underad created perfect enemies. Humans who had learned to hide their thoughts, plan in secret, and strike without warning. The age of human obedience was ending. The age of human retribution was about to begin. The first great battle of the Human Liberation War began at the Kepler Junction, where 5 major hyperspace routes crossed in the neutral zone between human and alien space. Admiral Ji Wuhan commanded a fleet of 80 ships, every vessel that had mutinied from Coalition service or been captured by Phoenix forces. Facing her were 300 Coalition warships under the command of Supreme Admiral Kexthal, the Veltar military leader who had sworn to cleanse the galaxy of human infection, once and for all. The aliens expected an easy victory. They outnumbered the humans 4-1. Their ships were larger and more heavily armed, and they had centuries of naval combat experience. They did not expect human tactics. All ships, execute pattern Omega, Han ordered through the quantum communication network that Young Su Lim had perfected. Every human ship received the command instantly, with no delay for signal transmission. The human fleet scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that seemed random, but were actually carefully coordinated. Individual ships appeared to flee in panic, drawing alien pursuit into prepared ambush zones. They run like cowards, Kexthal announced to his officers. Follow and destroy them one by one. The Coalition fleet broke formation to pursue exactly as Han had planned. Alien ships found themselves isolated, surrounded by human vessels that attacked with precision and disappeared before return fire could find them. Engineer Minho Choi's new weapons proved devastatingly effective. Pulse cannons tuned to crystal resonance frequencies shattered Veltar armor in seconds. Sonic torpedoes designed for insect physiology tore through Morgaine battlecruisers like paper. Electromagnetic mines trapped Luxani energy beings in magnetic bottles. But the real advantage was human coordination. Enhanced crew members operated their ships like extensions of their own bodies, reacting to threats faster than computer systems could track. Multiple ships moved as single organisms, covering each other's weaknesses and combining their firepower. Impossible, Kexthal muttered as his tactical display showed Coalition ships disappearing one by one. How are they doing this? The answer was simple. Humans had learned to fight as a species instead of individuals. Every ship, every crew, every enhanced human was part of one vast network of intelligence and will. When the battle ended 6 hours later, 200 Coalition ships were destroyed or captured. The human fleet had lost only 12 vessels and most of their crews had been rescued. Supreme Admiral Kexthal's flagship was one of the captured ships. He stood in chains before Admiral Han, his crystal body dim with defeat. You fight without honor, he accused. Hiding, running, using tricks instead of facing us directly. Han looked at the alien with cold eyes. You enslaved our species for 3 centuries. You tried to exterminate us. We will fight however we choose to fight. The victory at Kepler Junction sent shockwaves through both sides of the war. For humans, it proved they could defeat the aliens in conventional battle. For the aliens, it revealed that their former slaves had become a military threat beyond their worst fears. The war spread rapidly. On the mining world of Proxima 5, General Sunmi Choi led 10,000 human ground troops against a coalition garrison of 30,000 aliens. The battle should have been a massacre. Instead, it became a legend. Choi's soldiers were all fully restored humans, their genetics returned to pre-contact condition. They were stronger, faster, and more intelligent than modern humans had been for centuries. But more importantly, they remembered how to be warriors. The aliens had forgotten what human soldiers were capable of when they stopped holding back. Enhanced humans moved through the battlefield like ghosts, appearing from unexpected angles using terrain in ways that seemed impossible. They turned mining equipment into weapons, industrial chemicals into explosives, civilian buildings into fortresses. Most shocking to the aliens, human wounded refused to stay down. Soldiers with injuries that should have been crippling continued fighting with mechanical determination. They seemed to feel no fear, no pain, no doubt. They fight like machines, reported a surviving Morgan officer, but they think like demons. The coalition garrison surrendered after 3 days, having lost 90% of their forces while killing only 800 humans. The survivors were treated well, another shock to aliens who expected human savagery. "We are not you," General Choi told the alien prisoners. "We do not murder helpless enemies." Strategic Commander Woo Jin Lee coordinated the ground campaigns from Phoenix headquarters. He had studied every major battle in galactic history, learning how the three alien species fought and how to counter their tactics. Veltar relied on superior technology and defensive positions. Lee's forces used mobility and stealth to avoid their advantages, striking at weak points and disappearing before reinforcements arrived. Morgaine used swarm tactics and overwhelming numbers. Lee countered with psychological warfare, targeting hive commanders and disrupting their coordination systems. Luxani energy beings were nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons. Lee's scientists developed quantum disruptors that could damage their energy matrices, forcing them to retreat or risk dispersal. "The key is adaptation," Lee explained to his staff. "They fight the same way they have for millennia. We learn from every battle and become better." Human military doctrine evolved at incredible speed. Tactics that worked in one battle were improved or discarded based on results. New weapons were designed and deployed within weeks. Battle-tested strategies spread through the quantum network to human forces across the galaxy. The aliens could not match this pace of change. Their rigid command structures and traditional thinking made them predictable. Human commanders learned to anticipate alien moves while remaining unpredictable themselves. But the war's most shocking development was not human military skill. It was human industrial capacity. For centuries, humans had built the ships, weapons, and equipment that powered alien civilization. They knew every factory, every supply line, every production facility in coalition space. When the war began, human workers in those facilities began to sabotage. Production lines that made alien weapons started producing human weapons instead. Transport ships carrying supplies to alien forces delivered them to human rebels. On the industrial world of Kepler 442, 50,000 human workers took over the entire manufacturing complex in a single day. Within a week, they were producing Phoenix equipment at twice the previous output rate. "It's not just sabotage," reported Dr. Hae-Jin Park from her analysis of captured facilities. "Restored humans are naturally better at manufacturing. Their enhanced intelligence and coordination allow them to optimize production in ways the aliens never imagined. Human-controlled factories began producing weapons that were superior to coalition equipment, ships that were faster and more maneuverable, computers that could process information at quantum speeds. The aliens faced a terrifying realization. They had built their entire civilization on human labor, and now that labor was working against them. Fleet Admiral Do-hyun Park, no relation to the doctor, commanded the rapidly growing Human Liberation Navy. His ships were crewed entirely by restored humans who worked together with impossible efficiency. "Enemy fleet detected in the Ross system," reported his tactical officer. 300 ships heading for New Terra. New Terra was one of the first worlds to undergo complete restoration, its 50 million inhabitants now serving as a symbol of human resurgence. The coalition was determined to destroy it as an example to other rebellious worlds. "All available ships to Ross system immediately," Park ordered. "We will not let them repeat Titan Colony." The Human Liberation Navy had grown to over 200 ships through captures, defections, and rapid construction in human-controlled systems. They were still outnumbered but no longer outmatched. The Battle of New Terra lasted 4 days and became known as the turning point of the war. Human ships used tactics so advanced that alien commanders could not understand what was happening to their fleets. Enhanced human crews operated in perfect harmony, anticipating each other's actions without communication. Ships moved in formations that seemed to violate the laws of physics, appearing to teleport from one position to another. The breakthrough came when Strategic Commander Lee deployed his newest weapon, quantum torpedoes that could phase through shields and armor to detonate inside enemy ships. The technology had been developed in captured alien laboratories by human scientists who understood quantum mechanics better than their former masters. By the end of the 4th day, the Coalition attack fleet was completely destroyed. Not a single human world had fallen. The aliens finally realized they were not fighting a rebellion. They were fighting a war for survival. The species they had kept as servants for 3 centuries had become their equals in every way that mattered, and their superiors in ways that terrified them. Emergency councils convened on the three alien homeworlds. For the first time in galactic history, the Veltar, Morgaine, and Luxani considered the possibility of defeat. "We created them to serve us," the Veltar High Crystal declared. "How did they become so dangerous?" The answer came from their own research files. Humans had always been this dangerous. The aliens had spent centuries suppressing human nature. Commander Dongwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the Coalition warship Harmony, watching the screens with growing anger. The asteroid was heading straight for Titan Colony, home to 50,000 humans. The massive rock would hit in 6 hours. Every human would die. "Sir, we can change course and destroy the asteroid," said his human lieutenant. "It will only take 3 hours." The Veltar commander, a tall crystal being named Zexali, clicked his sharp fingers. "No, we have orders to reach the Morgan trade station. Human mining colonies are replaceable. Our schedule is not." Dongwoo's hands turned into fists. He had served the Coalition for 20 years. He had followed every order, fought every battle, lost friends for these aliens. Now they would let 50,000 humans die to save 3 hours. "Sir, please," Dongwoo said. "These are innocent people, families, children." Zexali's crystal eyes glowed cold blue. "Commander Kim, you forget your place. Humans serve. You do not question. Return to your station." Dongwoo watched the asteroid grow larger on the screen. Soon it would be too late to stop. He thought of his sister who lived on Titan Colony. He thought of her 2 young children. The Coalition would not save them. 3 systems away, Dr. Haejin Park worked alone in her laboratory on research station Kepler 442b. She had been studying human genetics for the Coalition for 15 years. Tonight she had discovered something terrible. The computer showed 2 genetic maps side by side. One was a human from today. The other was from ancient human remains 300 years old. Before first contact with the aliens, the differences were shocking. Modern humans were weaker, smaller, less intelligent. Their bones were softer. Their muscles were smaller. Their brains processed information slower. But this was not natural evolution. Someone had changed human genetics on purpose. Haejin pulled up more data. Every human in Coalition space had the same genetic markers. Markers that made them obedient, peaceful, weak. The aliens had been changing human DNA for generations, making them perfect workers and soldiers who never questioned orders. She found a hidden file in the alien database. It was written in Veltar language, but she had learned to read it. The title made her blood run cold. Project Domestication, Final Phase Implementation. The file detailed plans to reduce the human population by 80% over the next 10 years. The remaining humans would be made even weaker and more obedient. They would become perfect slaves, unable to think for themselves or fight back. Haejin sat back in her chair, shaking. The aliens had never seen humans as equal partners. They saw them as animals to be controlled and used. On the trade route between Proxima and Vega, Captain So-Young Lee commanded the transport ship New Dawn. Her cargo hold was filled with 300 human refugees fleeing a failed colony world. These people had lost everything. They trusted So-Young to get them to safety. The pirates came out of nowhere. 5 ships surrounded New Dawn, demanding surrender. So-Young sent out an emergency signal to the Coalition fleet. Help was coming, but would it arrive in time? "Captain, Coalition ships approaching," her engineer reported. 2 Veltar destroyers and a Luxani cruiser. So-Young smiled with relief. They were saved. The Coalition fleet would drive off the pirates and rescue everyone. But something was wrong. The Coalition ships destroyed the pirate vessels, but they did not answer So-Young's calls. Instead, they docked with New Dawn and soldiers boarded. The Veltar commander walked onto the bridge, followed by floating Luxani energy beings. "We are here for the rescued passengers," the crystal alien announced. "Rescued passengers?" So-Young asked. "What are you talking about?" "The alien passengers from the pirate attack. We will evacuate them immediately," So-Young stared. "There are no alien passengers. Only humans. 300 human refugees who need help." The Veltar commander looked at her with cold crystal eyes. "We received reports of alien passengers under pirate attack. We see only humans. Our mission is complete. What about the humans? They need food, medical care, transport to safety. Not our concern. Humans are not Coalition priority." The Veltar turned and walked away. The Luxani followed, their energy forms crackling with indifference. So Young watched the coalition ships leave. 300 humans sat in her cargo hold, injured and starving. The people who were supposed to protect them had abandoned them because they were human. Back on the Harmony, Dongwoo Kim watched Titan colony die. The asteroid struck exactly as predicted. 50,000 lives ended in a flash of light and fire. His sister, her children, gone. The Veltar commander showed no emotion. Unfortunate, Sexali said. File the report. Continue to trade station. That night, Dongwoo sat alone in his quarters. He had served the coalition faithfully for 20 years. He had believed they were building a better galaxy together. Now he saw the truth. Humans were not partners. They were tools. Disposable tools. He thought about Dr. Park's research reports he had seen. Humans were getting weaker each generation. Fewer humans were being born each year. Human colonies kept failing or disappearing. It was not accidental. It was planned. The next morning, Dongwoo sent 3 coded messages. One went to Dr. Hae-Jin Park on her research station. One went to Captain So-Young Lee on her transport ship. The third went to someone he had not contacted in 5 years, General Tae-Ho-Yoon, who had disappeared after questioning coalition orders. Each message contained the same simple words. They have gone too far. It is time. Dr. Park received the message while looking at genetic test results from her own blood. She had found the control markers in her own DNA. The aliens had changed her just like every other human. But knowing the truth was the first step to fighting back. Captain Lee read the message while helping wounded refugees. The coalition had abandoned these people because they were human. Someone needed to protect humans since the coalition would not. Across the galaxy, the 3 alien species congratulated themselves. The Veltar, Morgan, and Luxani had worked together for centuries to keep humans under control. Humans were useful workers and soldiers, but they could be dangerous if allowed to grow strong. The genetic modifications were working perfectly, but they had made one mistake. They had pushed too hard, too fast. They had shown their true nature to the wrong humans. Commander Kim, Dr. Park, and Captain Lee were not ordinary humans. They were smart, strong, and angry. Most importantly, they were not alone. Across human space, others had noticed the truth. The dying colonies, the genetic changes, the casual cruelty. A network was forming in secret, connecting humans who had seen too much and lost too much. The aliens thought they had created perfect servants. Instead, they had created perfect enemies. Humans who had learned to hide their thoughts, plan in secret, and strike without warning. The age of human obedience was ending. The age of human retribution was about to begin. The Central Galactic Archives on Nexus Prime held the complete history of the galaxy for the past 10,000 years. It was the most heavily guarded facility in Coalition space, protected by energy shields and 3,000 elite troops. Commander Bo-Ram Song and her enhanced assault team took it in 47 minutes. They came from inside the facility, disguised as maintenance workers who had been planted months earlier. The guards never suspected the quiet humans cleaning their floors and fixing their computers were actually Phoenix operatives gathering intelligence. When the attack began, Song's team moved with deadly precision. Enhanced humans used their improved reaction times and coordination to overcome impossible odds. They knew every corridor, every guard position, every security system. Database access in 3 minutes, reported the team's hacker, Min-Jun Park. He was Dr. Park's younger brother, enhanced beyond normal human limits. His mind processed information at superhuman speed, breaking alien encryption like it was a child's puzzle. 2 minutes remaining, Song announced as alien reinforcements poured into the building. Enhanced humans held defensive positions that should have been overrun instantly. Instead, they turned the archives into a maze of death traps. Got it, Min-Jun announced, downloading everything. Historical files, genetic records, strategic plans, the works. The team escaped through sewage tunnels as the building filled with smoke and confusion. By the time alien security realized what had happened, the most dangerous secrets in the galaxy were already being transmitted to Phoenix bases across human space. Historian Jae-Hyun Oh had been waiting his entire life for this moment. As a young professor, he had studied ancient human artifacts and noticed inconsistencies in the official history. The Coalition taught that humans were a primitive species rescued by benevolent aliens and given the gift of civilization. The stolen files told a very different story. We were never primitive. O announced at the emergency Phoenix Council meeting. We were never rescued. We were conquered. The holographic display showed star maps from 8,000 years ago. Human settlements spread across hundreds of worlds, connected by trade routes and military alliances. They were not the scattered tribes of coalition propaganda, but a vast interstellar civilization, the Eternal Empire. O continued, reading from ancient files. That was what we called ourselves. We controlled this entire galactic arm, over 3,000 inhabited systems. General Yoon leaned forward. What happened to it? War. The 3 alien species formed an alliance specifically to destroy us. They called it the Great Cleansing, the elimination of the human threat. The files contained battle reports, casualty lists, and strategic analyses from the ancient war. Humans had fought for centuries against impossible odds, but they had been outnumbered and surrounded. They won through treachery. O explained. They pretended to offer peace terms, then released engineered plagues during the negotiation meetings. Billions died in weeks. The surviving humans had been scattered to remote worlds and subjected to genetic modification. Over generations, they were made weaker, more docile, more dependent on alien technology. The proud warriors of the Eternal Empire became willing servants who forgot their own history. But they made one mistake. O said with a grim smile. They kept us alive. They needed our labor, our creativity, our adaptability. They thought they could control us forever. Dr. Kyung-hee Nam studied the psychological profiles from the alien files. The 3 species had been studying human behavior for millennia, trying to understand what made them so dangerous. They fear our unpredictability, she reported. Veltar think in crystal patterns, rigid, logical, unchanging. Morgaine follow hive programming, efficient but limited. Luxani exist as energy, powerful but isolated. Humans were different. They learned rapidly, adapted constantly, and formed bonds that transcended logic. Most terrifying to the aliens, humans could inspire other species to join them. The ancient files mention human-led alliances with dozens of other races. Nam continued. We did not just conquer through force. We convinced others to fight alongside us willingly. The aliens had spent centuries making sure this could never happen again. They had isolated humans from other species, controlled their education, and suppressed their natural leadership abilities. But the suppression was failing. Captain So Young, Lee discovered this when she arrived at the disputed world of Kepler 438b. The planet was inhabited by the Kethran, a peaceful species that had been neutral in galactic politics for generations. Lee's transport carried medical supplies for Kethran civilians caught in a border dispute. She expected to deliver the cargo and leave quickly. Instead, she found herself in the middle of a revolution. The coalition has betrayed us, announced Kethran leader Velenith through her translator. They promised protection but delivered enslavement. The Kethran had discovered that coalition mining operations were poisoning their water supply. When they protested, alien administrators dismissed their concerns and increased production quotas. We know about Phoenix, Velenith continued. We have heard how humans fight for freedom. Will you help us? Lee faced a choice that would change galactic history. Phoenix policy was to avoid involving other species in the human rebellion, but her enhanced instincts told her this was bigger than policy. Yes, she said simply, we will help. Within days, enhanced human advisors were training Kethran resistance fighters. The aliens' worst nightmare was becoming reality. Humans were inspiring other species to rebel. The pattern repeated across the galaxy. On Proxima 7, the aquatic Meridal joined human colonists in destroying coalition industrial platforms that were killing their coral cities. On Wolf 359c, the insectoid Sectar allied with human miners to drive off Morgaine overseers who had been stealing their eggs for genetic experiments. Each alliance made the aliens more desperate. They had built their empire on the principle that different species could not work together effectively. Humans were proving them wrong. Intelligence officer Yoonji Kwon watched the alien leadership panic from her position inside coalition headquarters. The 3 species were holding emergency councils, debating whether to accelerate Project Cleansing or negotiate with the rebels. They are considering a complete extermination order, she reported to Phoenix Command. Kill every human in the galaxy before the rebellion spreads further. But even that option was becoming impossible. Admiral Han's fleet now controlled key hyperspace routes. making it difficult for alien forces to coordinate large operations. Enhanced human infiltrators had sabotaged critical installations across Coalition space. Most importantly, human populations were receiving the complete restoration protocol faster than the aliens could track. Entire worlds were transforming overnight as their inhabitants discovered their true nature. The change was not just physical or mental, it was spiritual. Restored humans remembered what it felt like to be free, to choose their own path, to fight for something greater than themselves. On New Terra, 50 million humans took the protocol simultaneously during a coordinated medical distribution. The planet's entire industrial output shifted from Coalition projects to Phoenix weapons production in a single day. On Armstrong Station, 30,000 human workers discovered they were not employees but prisoners, kept docile by drugs in their food supply. They took over the station and turned it into a fortress guarding the Earth Proxima trade route. On Kepler Prime, enhanced human colonists revealed that their agricultural settlement was actually a hidden military base containing enough firepower to destroy a battle fleet. The aliens finally understood what they were fighting. Not a rebellion of modified humans, but the return of humanity's original nature. The species that had once ruled half the galaxy was remembering how to be conquerors instead of servants. Veltar Strategic Command issued a desperate message to all Coalition forces. Priority Alpha Directive. The human species represents an existential threat to galactic civilization. All available resources are authorized for immediate deployment. The enemy must be eliminated before they achieve critical mass. But it was already too late for elimination. Phoenix cells existed on over 800 worlds. Human populations had been restored on dozens of major planets. Allied species were joining the rebellion faster than alien forces could suppress them. The three alien species had spent centuries creating the perfect trap for humanity. They had made humans weak, divided, and dependent. They had erased human history and culture. They had convinced humans that servitude was their natural state. Now they discovered that their trap had only one flaw. They had forgotten to remove the lock from the inside. General Yoon stood in the command center of Phoenix Base Alpha, watching tactical displays that showed the scope of human resurgence. Red dots marked alien strongholds. Blue dots showed human-controlled territory. Green dots indicated allied species. 6 months ago, there had been no blue dots. Now they covered a third of the galaxy. Transmit this message on all frequencies, Yoon ordered. To every human in Coalition space and to any alien willing to listen. The message was simple but revolutionary. We are not your servants. We never were. We are the children of the Eternal Empire, and we remember who we used to be. The age of human submission is over. The age of human liberation has begun. The final assault on the Galactic Core began with a single transmission from Supreme Commander Dong-Woo Kim to the 3 alien homeworlds. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. After that, we will do what you should have done to us but chose not to. We will show you what extinction looks like. The message was broadcast on all frequencies in every known language. Across the galaxy, billions of beings listened as humanity delivered its ultimatum to the species that had enslaved them for 3 centuries. On Veltar Prime, the crystal beings huddled in their geometric cities, their bodies dim with fear. On Morgaine Central, insect swarms buzzed in agitated patterns as their queens considered impossible choices. On Luxani Core, energy beings flickered between dimensions, seeking escape routes that did not exist. The hour passed in silence. At exactly 60 minutes after the transmission, the human liberation fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the core systems. 500 ships, every vessel humanity could gather, carrying the hopes and fury of their entire species. They faced the largest military force ever assembled, over 2,000 alien warships protected by orbital defense stations, energy barriers, and weapons platforms that could shatter planets. Grand Admiral So-Young Lee commanded the assault from her flagship Retribution. She had come far from the transport captain who once carried refugees. Now she led humanity's final gambit against their former masters. All ships execute final protocol, she ordered. The human fleet did not charge the alien defenses as expected. Instead, they scattered toward the industrial systems surrounding the homeworlds, the foundries, refineries, and energy collectors that powered alien civilization. These systems were defended by human workers who had been evacuated to safety. But the evacuations had been voluntary. Millions of restored humans had chosen to remain behind, waiting for this moment. Phoenix Rising activated, reported Young-Soo Lim from the Quantum Communications Center. Across the core systems, human workers revealed themselves and began their final act of sabotage. Fusion reactors overloaded in precisely calculated sequences. Shipyards turned their construction facilities into massive bombs. Orbital platforms opened fire on each other using reprogrammed targeting systems. Within hours, the industrial foundation of alien civilization was collapsing. The three homeworld systems lost power, communication, and production capacity simultaneously. But the aliens still had their military forces. Supreme Admiral Kexthal, freed from human captivity in a prisoner exchange, led the combined alien fleets in a desperate counterattack. "Kill them all," he transmitted to his forces. "Every human ship, every human world, every human in the galaxy. End this species before they end us." The battle that followed would be remembered as the largest space combat in galactic history. 2,000 alien ships against 500 human vessels, with the fate of civilization hanging in the balance. The aliens fought with the fury of the desperate, using weapons they had kept in reserve for emergencies. Planet-killing bombs, reality-warping devices, quantum black holes. They deployed everything in their arsenal. The humans fought with the cold precision of the inevitable. Every ship, every crew, every enhanced human worked as part of a single organism dedicated to victory. Engineer Minho Choi had prepared for this moment. His final weapons were not just superior technology. They were psychological warfare turned into physical force. The Veltar crystal ships began to resonate with their own frequencies, shattering from within as their crystalline structures turned against themselves. It was poetic justice for a species that had used harmony as a weapon. The Morgaine swarm fleets found their coordination networks infected with viruses that turned their unity into chaos. Hive ships collided with each other as confused drones received contradictory orders. The Luxani, energy beings, discovered that human quantum disruptors could not just damage their energy matrices, they could trap them in dimensional loops, forcing them to experience their own dissolution repeatedly. "Impossible," Kexthal whispered as his tactical displays showed alien fleets dissolving. "We are the superior species. We have ruled for millennia." "You ruled through fear," Admiral Lee replied over an open channel. "We rule through unity. Guess which one is stronger?" The battle turned into a rout as alien morale collapsed. Species that had worked together for centuries began abandoning each other, fleeing toward their homeworlds in panic. But the homeworlds were no longer safe. Strategic Commander Wu Jin Lee had studied the aliens' greatest weakness, their dependence on central command structures. Each species required constant coordination from their leadership to function effectively. Human commando teams, led by the legendary Commander Sujin Kang, infiltrated the three homeworlds simultaneously. Their mission was not conquest, but precision strikes against command centers. On Veltar Prime, enhanced humans moved through crystal mazes that should have been impossible to navigate. But human pattern recognition, enhanced beyond normal limits, allowed them to find paths where none should exist. On Morgaine Central, human soldiers used pheromone weapons to disrupt insect communication, turning the planet's defenders against each other. On Luxani Core, quantum specialists deployed dimensional anchors that prevented energy beings from phasing between realities, trapping them in physical form where they could be defeated. The three alien species faced a choice they had never imagined: surrender or extinction. The Morgaine Queens fell first. Their hive minds, so efficient at coordination, became liabilities when human hackers infected their networks. Billions of insect drones simply stopped functioning as their central intelligence collapsed. The Luxani energy beings tried to flee to higher dimensions, but human quantum technology had learned to follow them. They found no escape from the species they had helped enslave. The Veltar High Crystal made the final decision for all three species. Faced with the complete destruction of his civilization, he transmitted the unconditional surrender on behalf of the Coalition. Chancellor Hae-Jin Park, the former researcher who had discovered the genetic modifications, now led humanity's government. She stood in the ruins of Coalition headquarters on Nexus Prime, facing the assembled alien leadership. "You have a choice," she told them. "Exile to the rim systems beyond our territory, or remain and face justice for 3 centuries of slavery, murder, and oppression. Most chose exile. The 3 species had enough ships and resources to establish new colonies far from human space. They would survive, but they would never again threaten any other species. Some chose to remain and integrate into the new galactic order. These aliens accepted human leadership and contributed to the rebuilding efforts. They were treated fairly but watched carefully. A few chose defiance and were dealt with accordingly. The galaxy that emerged from the war was fundamentally different. Humans controlled the core systems and major trade routes, but they ruled through cooperation rather than domination. The dozens of alien species that had joined the rebellion were granted equal status in the new Galactic Federation. The Kethran, Murdal, Sektar, and others found themselves partners rather than subjects. "We will not repeat their mistakes," Park announced at the founding ceremony of the Federation. "We will not rule through fear or genetic manipulation. We will lead by example." But humanity had not forgotten the lessons of the war. The enhanced humans remained enhanced, their capabilities a permanent defense against future threats. The quantum communication network connected every human world, ensuring they could never be divided again. Most importantly, the truth about human history was preserved and taught to every child. The rise of the Eternal Empire, the Great Cleansing, the centuries of slavery, and the final liberation, all of it was recorded so that future generations would remember the price of freedom. Supreme Commander Kim stood on the observation deck of Nexus Prime, looking out at the bustling space traffic of the new galactic capital. Humans, aliens, and AI constructs worked together in harmony, building something better than what came before. His aide, a young enhanced human named Jinwoo Park, approached with the daily reports. "Sir, the reconstruction of the outer systems is ahead of schedule. The new shipyards will be online within 6 months." Kim nodded. "And the exile fleets?" "Maintaining course toward the Rim territories. No signs of regrouping or planning return." "Good." Kim turned from the viewport. "What about the new colonies?" 17 worlds have requested Federation membership this month. All voluntary, all eager to join." Kim smiled. It was working. The new galaxy was growing through attraction rather than conquest, cooperation rather than coercion. But he knew the vigilance could never end. Somewhere in the vast darkness between galaxies, the exiled aliens nursed their hatred and planned their return. Other threats would emerge, they always did. Humanity had learned to be warriors again, but they had also learned to be builders. They would defend what they had created, but they would also continue to improve it. The age of human servitude was over forever. The age of human leadership had begun. In schools across human space, children learned about their heritage. They learned about the sleeping giant that had awakened when pushed too far. They learned that freedom was not given. It was taken by those brave enough to fight for it. The first coordinated strike came without warning. Across 12 star systems, human workers simply stopped working. Not slowly, not with protests, but all at once. Like a switch had been turned off. On the industrial world of Ross 128b, 20,000 humans walked away from the fusion reactors that powered the alien cities. The Veltar overseer screamed orders, but the humans kept walking. Within hours, the planet's power grid collapsed. On agricultural world Kepler 452b, human farmers abandoned the food processing plants that fed 3 alien systems. Millions of tons of crops rotted in the fields while the Morgan administrators watched helplessly. On the mining stations of Wolf 359, human workers sealed themselves in the tunnels and destroyed the equipment. The Lexani energy beings tried to phase through the barriers, but the humans had learned to use electromagnetic fields as weapons. Admiral Ji-Woo Han coordinated the strikes from her flagship. The restoration protocol had spread through her fleet like wildfire. Every human crew member now saw clearly what they had been serving. "Status report," Han ordered. 67 worlds affected, reported her new intelligence officer. Young Su Lim. He had developed a quantum communication network that allowed Phoenix cells to coordinate instantly across the galaxy. Industrial production down 90% in affected systems. Han smiled. The aliens needed human workers more than they admitted. For centuries, humans had built their cities, grown their food, and fought their wars. Without humans, alien civilization would collapse. But the real surprise was yet to come. Dr. Hae-Jin Park had modified the restoration protocol based on new discoveries. Human genetics were not just artificially weakened, they were actively suppressed. When the suppression was removed, humans became something the aliens had never imagined. The first enhanced humans had arrived on Titan II, a world where Phoenix was building a secret military base. Commander Sujin Kang led them in training exercises that shocked even their human observers. They moved like liquid lightning, thinking and reacting faster than should be possible. They coordinated without speaking, as if reading each other's minds. Most amazingly, they seemed to learn new combat skills just by watching others perform them once. They are not the same species anymore, Park reported to General Yoon. The enhancement goes beyond physical improvements. Their brains are forming new connections, accessing abilities that were locked away. Yoon watched a training video of enhanced humans fighting simulated alien forces. 12 humans defeated 60 alien warriors using tactics that seemed impossible. They fought as one organism with 12 bodies. How many enhanced soldiers do we have? Yoon asked. 3,000 so far, but the number doubles every week. Captain Lee's transport network is distributing the enhanced therapy to every Phoenix cell. The enhanced humans were not just soldiers. They were engineers who could design weapons while fighting, doctors who could perform surgery in combat zones, pilots who could fly ships they had never seen before. They were becoming what humans might have been without alien interference. The aliens finally noticed the changes when enhanced humans began appearing in coalition military units. Commander Boram Song led a squad of enhanced Marines in what was supposed to be a routine patrol of the Centauri system. When pirates attacked a civilian convoy, Song's squad responded with precision that horrified their alien officers. The pirates were eliminated in minutes without a single civilian casualty. The enhanced humans moved through the battle like dancers, never missing a shot, never wasting a motion. The Veltar commander, Zar Kul, reported to his superiors, "The humans are changing. They fight differently now, better, much better." But the aliens still did not understand what they were facing. The real awakening came when Phoenix captured the Veltar research facility on Kepler 4042c. The base contained genetic laboratories where aliens had been experimenting on human subjects for decades. Dr. Kyung-hee Nam, a xenopsychologist who had joined Phoenix after taking the restoration protocol, analyzed the facility's data. What she found changed everything. "They have been studying us for 300 years, she reported to the Phoenix leadership. "Not just our genetics, our psychology, our behavior patterns, our social structures." The files revealed the truth about human pack bonding, the ability that aliens feared most. Humans naturally formed deep emotional connections not just with other humans, but with any creature they considered part of their group. This made them incredibly loyal and willing to sacrifice everything for their chosen family. The aliens had tried to destroy this ability through genetic modification and psychological conditioning. They had partially succeeded, making humans more isolated and easier to control, but they had not eliminated it completely. When the suppression was removed, human pack bonding returned stronger than ever. Enhanced humans did not just work together, they became extensions of each other. Their loyalty was absolute, their coordination perfect, their willingness to sacrifice unlimited. "This is why they fear us," Nam explained. "Other species fight for territory, resources, dominance. Humans fight for love. There is no defense against that kind of motivation." The proof came when coalition forces attacked the Phoenix base on Titan II. 3 alien battle groups, over 10,000 troops surrounded the base where only 800 enhanced humans waited. The battle should have been over in hours. Instead, it lasted 3 days and ended with the complete destruction of the alien forces. The enhanced humans fought like no one had ever fought before. They used weapons, vehicles, and terrain in ways that broke every rule of warfare. When their equipment failed, they improvised with rocks and metal bars. When they ran out of ammunition, they fought with their hands and teeth. Most importantly, they never retreated. When aliens killed one human, the others became more dangerous, not less. They avenged their fallen with precision and fury that made seasoned alien veterans flee in terror. Commander Sujin Kang led the defense personally. She had been enhanced longer than most, and the changes in her were extraordinary. She could see patterns in the battle that others missed, anticipate enemy moves before they happened, coordinate dozens of separate actions into one perfect strategy, target their command structure, she ordered through the quantum communication network. They cannot adapt without orders. Enhanced human snipers eliminated alien officers with impossible shots. Engineers turned mining equipment into devastating weapons. Medics kept wounded humans fighting when they should have been dead. On the second day, the aliens brought in their heaviest weapons. Plasma cannons that could melt mountains fired at the human positions. The humans disappeared underground and emerged behind enemy lines, turning the aliens' own weapons against them. On the third day, the remaining aliens tried to retreat, but the enhanced humans had surrounded them during the night. Moving through terrain the aliens thought was impassable. The trap closed with mechanical precision. When coalition reinforcements arrived, they found 800 humans standing among the wreckage of 3 battle groups. The humans were wounded, exhausted, but victorious. More importantly, they had captured hundreds of alien prisoners and massive amounts of equipment. The news of the Titan II victory spread through both human and alien networks. For humans, it was proof that they could win. For aliens, it was the first hint of what they had created. Admiral Han used the victory to recruit more coalition humans. Her fleet had grown to 50 ships as human crews mutinied and joined Phoenix. Each new ship brought more firepower and more evidence that humans were no longer the weak servants the aliens remembered. "We have a problem," reported Young-Soo Lim during a strategy meeting. "The aliens are starting to take us seriously. They are repositioning their main fleets." General Yoon studied the tactical displays. Alien forces were gathering around the 3 homeworld systems, Beltar Prime, Morgan Central, and Luxani Core. The enemy was preparing for total war. "Good," Yoon said simply. "We have been preparing for this moment for centuries, even if we did not know it. Now we will show them what humans can do when they stop holding back." But the aliens had one more surprise coming. They thought they were fighting a rebellion of enhanced super soldiers. They did not realize they were fighting the return of humanity's true nature. In hidden bases across human space, Dr. Park was preparing the final enhancement. Not just for soldiers, but for every human who wanted it. The therapy would restore not just physical abilities, but the complete human genome as it existed before alien interference. They would become what their ancestors had been, a species that had once fought their way to the stars with nothing but determination and improvised weapons. A species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and global wars through pure stubbornness and refusal to give up. The aliens had spent 3 centuries creating perfect servants. Instead, they had created perfect enemies who remembered what it meant to be human. The sleeping giant was fully awake now, and it was angry.